Marnie, it's Tuesday night. KHOP88 is on the air.
So happy to be back from Oregon.
Yeah, how was that? That seems like you had a trying situation up there last week.
Well, the cat is out of the bag. We're moving back to Oregon at the end of June. And
Exciting.
It was very exciting because it was a once in a decade storm and our electric car was frozen like an ice cube to the street, and the power went out all over Portland and our car was there like slowly losing charge.
Oh man.
Oh my.
You can't just drop a diehard battery into a Tesla, can you? You can't, like, that's what we do up here. You get a diehard.
We also learned that there's special towing procedures. Like you have to have a flatbed for your Tesla and you can't just tow it. But anyhow, we made it back and now it's Brad and I are in a balmy Marin County over 70.
Beautiful.
Well, we are joined by, as I put in the notes of the show on Facebook here, three of the great mullets at Hopkins High School. Brad Jones from just down the road from you in Marin County, California. James Berndt joining us from Maple Grove, Minnesota.
Berndt, right?
Either way.
Berndt.
It was Berndt back in the
Berndt.
day, but there's people that pronounce it Berndt, like our Maple Grove police spokesman pronounced it.
Okay.
Way it is.
And Chris Bjork, a repeat offender here.
Yeah,
back on
I'm
the
so
show.
sorry. Don't ask me any questions. I'll just sit in the back.
No, we need you here for fact checking.
Oh,
and
oh yeah, okay. All right.
It's supposed to be the censorship police.
well, so Brad informed us that the way you got, and we were hoping to get Jeff Clegan and Chris Sanders on the show because you guys formed a posse that dined daily, apparently, or quite often at Bonaventure, which is a word that had not occurred to my brain in decades at this point. So Brad, do you want to reprise this for us? What did you guys do at Bonaventure?
Yeah, so we had all of us in our junior year decided that we would coordinate and take first hour free. And so our first period we made sure was a free hour. And so every morning we would go to the diner, or I'm assuming it was every morning. It was almost every morning, but we would go to the diner at Bonaventure, and we would sit there and drink coffee and eat hash browns with cheese and egg. And we were talking a while ago about kind of like all the stuff we used to order, but it was pretty basic, and and then we would finish our coffee, breakfast, and go off to school.
It sounds very refined. Is that how you remember it, James?
Yeah, for the most part, or Byerly's. I had a Byerly's connection, so we'd alternate.
Most of us worked there, so we were at Byerly's every day, anyways.
Yeah, I think all three of us worked there at Byerly's restaurant in Ridgedale at some point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow. I remember that as a place for late night dining.
Oh, yes.
Byerly's. And I do remember that photo of Chris Bjork from the yearbook, I think, on the job at Byerly's in the kitchen.
That was cook chef school, and that was Drew Carlson took that picture, and he heard about that when I saw it in the yearbook. It was incriminating, let's just say that.
So you guys must have been okay. Like, you didn't get tossed out of these places, right? You must have been pretty well behaved.
Oh,
yeah. Breakfast club, a legit breakfast club, right?
It's like 6:30 in the morning, so you can't go too wrong.
Right.
We were barely functional. Let's just say we were not a lot of chatter happening. Some mornings it was pretty quiet.
Yeah. Marnie, you were going to say something?
I was going to follow up on the fact that you all worked at Byerly's. What was it? What were your jobs at Byerly's, and what? I used to go there at night, and it was just like the fun. I was on the night crew with Jason and some other guys and gals. But what was it like to work at Byerly's?
James, you should go first because you.
Now here's where I get into the rambling. So I ended up working there 15 years.
Bring it.
I was there a long time and ended up actually meeting my wife at the St. Paul location. So I was at 7 different Byerly's locations, but
Wow.
I was at the Ridgedale one for 6 years, all in the restaurant, slash deli, slash Lienchian we had for a long time. So it was a really fun place to work. And then of course, so Chris and Jeff worked out in the grocery store along with a lot of other people you meet along the way. And it was a great environment. You'd go throw the football around after work in the back lot and start a bonfire and have a couple beers. And this is like when we're, 16, 17 years old. So it was,
Wait,
very open.
you had bonfires in the back parking lot behind the Ridgedale Byerly's when
Yep.
we were in high school?
Hey,
Yep.
pallets aren't just for the beach, okay? You can burn them in the back of the Byerly's, you bet.
Yeah, there was one night, the Northern Lights were like, the best Northern Lights I've ever seen.
Ever.
And we just happened to be there having a bonfire in the back lot, and it was incredible. I mean, I have to say it was. I mean, look, we have a cabin up by Brainerd, or even if you go up to the North Shore, I don't think I've ever seen Northern Lights that was close to what those were. It's always my comparison.
That's fantastic. Well, we're just going to say hello here to a couple of people who have dropped in on Facebook. Todd Brothman has joined us here. He says, "Hey, Jonesy." Todd will have to share with us his hairdo because I remember he had a pretty voluminous situation there too. Karen Hintermeister joins in. She says, "Hi, Gabby." Is that somebody? Oh, she's saying hi to Chris's daughter, I think.
Yeah.
Left the premises wisely. Chad Alt says hello to everybody. And we're joined by Steve Simon tonight, who informs us that his first real job was as a dishwasher at the Ediner.
So that was my first real job at Byerly's, was a dishwasher. So I can actually commiserate with you on that. And I remember going home smelling like food every night.
It's a rough job.
It's a rough job
For sure.
I mean, but back then it was what, $2.25 an hour, $2.15 an hour. It was,
or 3.45 maybe.
Was it that? Oh wow. Okay. All right.
Well, unless you're tipped, then you got the lower rate.
No.
So you went into the grocery business then for a while there, James, but it ran its course apparently after a while at Byerly's.
Yeah, long story. So, so when Lund's bought Byerly's, which was a long haul because it was sold to investors by Don Byerly, then Lund's bought them, so it's Lund's Byerly's now. And then he had a pretty nice scholarship program, so I ended up finishing college with a computer science degree with his, Russell T. Lund scholarship. It was actually his father's, right, or his grandfather's probably. So that worked out pretty well. Got my degree and then kind of moved on from there.
Yeah. Brad, how did you find your way out to Northern California?
Well, let's see. In '97, I was out here visiting some friends, and right before I came out, we brought a company in to take over some database work that I had, like an application I had built for a company, for Piper Jaffray, where I worked during and after college. And they asked me if I was looking for a job, and I said, because they kind of liked what I had done. And I said, no, not really. I mean, if I'm going to stay in Minneapolis, I've got a great gig going here at Piper. And they said, well, we're opening a San Francisco office. And I said, oh, really? And so when I was out here on vacation in the summer of '97, I interviewed, and I loved San Francisco so much. I said, why the hell not? I have, no real ties other than family, and that's easy to solve. So fall of '97, I moved out here.
That's an exciting time to be living in San Francisco. I mean, that's pre.com crash, right? So you were part of the first wave.
Yep.
So what was that like? Where did you live in the city, and what was life like in San Francisco at that time?
Life was really crazy. It was an absolute insane time. In fact, at one point, getting a cab was so hard that I myself and some other friends kind of hired our own driver that we would kind of call on demand, and we would just pay him kind of a retainer to be on like our own personal taxi. Of course, not legal, but that was the only way you could get a taxi, because and this was way prior to Uber or anything like it. I lived on Russian Hill. So I lived on Lombard Street, right between Polk and Van Ness. So it was a great central location. And yeah, it was a heck of a good time until things blew up. And I came within like about a month of moving home to Minnesota because I ran out of, lost my job and I ran out of money, but I was able to weather it. So glad I did.
That
Okay,
is
Brad,
great.
Yeah.
can you describe what San Francisco is like now? Because it's really hard to, because I moved here 12 years ago with these memories of vibrant, active San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And every year for the past 12 years, the city is in such decline. I was just wondering if you want to describe it to everyone, how you experience San Francisco now.
I mean, so in my opinion, and this is just mine, and I'm now someone who lives in the suburbs, so it's not really fair. We've moved out of there 11 years ago. But I kind of, I mean, my quick term for it is billionaires and bums. And it's really a dichotomy between, super, super wealthy people and homeless people. And there's obviously, that's not completely fair. There's a ton of people in the middle there, but those are kind of like the impacts that you see. And it's really sad. I mean, so my prior job, I worked in an area, 5th and Mission, where I'd get off the little shuttle train I'd take, and I every morning would walk by people shooting up or people passed out or human feces on the street. And I think it's something San Francisco really, really needs to deal with in a very aggressive way. I wish they would do something different from what they are now.
How much are you guys, I haven't even asked Marnie this question, but this goes for both of you. You're close to San Francisco. How often do either of you get into the city after you moved out to Marin?
It depends. I mean, not that often, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say we live 45 minutes north of San Francisco, but we also live 45 minutes north of Berkeley and Oakland. And so when I need to go into a city, I always choose Oakland and Berkeley. And I agree with Brad's description, but except for the fact that I don't think there's very many people in the middle. You're being diplomatic. I think.
Yeah.
I just don't choose to go there ever.
The gentrification is extremely real, and it's very sad to see a lot of the real old, interesting San Francisco going by the wayside.
That is really, my experience being in San Francisco is just going there like every year for a conference for work, where I was lucky enough to be able to spend 5 days in the city. And over the years, seeing the city that way, just sort of like checking in, was really that kind of thing. It was just the little funky bars just being closed or turning into something completely different year after year. And I wonder too, if some of the little goofy places that I used to like to go, I've probably not been there in 5 years. And I wonder how much of what I used to like to do there. The last time I went to San Francisco, I stayed, maybe not the last time, but one of the last times, I got an Airbnb in the live work. So this must have been a lot longer than the last time, but the live workspace that Airbnb was started out of. So the first floor of this house, which was just south of Market, the whole first floor was this big long table, all these Stanford engineers coding at, with the bikes and shoes everywhere. And then they had rooms upstairs and rooms downstairs that they rented out. So if I wanted to come get a beer out of the fridge, I'd just kind of stand there and like watch them building Airbnb right there, which I thought was super cool at the time. And now it's like, wow, Airbnb is one of the reasons why San Francisco is, problematic, I guess, right?
Okay, I have one last California question for Brad, and then we can let go of California. So Brad, we know Brad lives in my county. We know Jennifer Reeder Nasiri is here. We also know Tony Cobb is here. But Brad, is there anyone else from Hopkins High who lives in our county?
Well, so not specifically in our county, but is it somebody lives down in Pacifica in San Francisco County? I'm trying to remember who it is off Facebook. I don't spend enough time on Facebook to kind of follow everything, but there's someone down in Pacifica, and I'm trying to remember who it is.
Okay, well, we'll find them.
Yeah, find that person. Yeah, maybe we can do a California edition.
All right, Bjork, since you're the repeat offender here, do you have memories of these two guys from high school? It doesn't have to be Byerly's or Bonaventure related.
Well, you know, a recurring theme on this show has been sort of the melting pot that Hopkins High became, where many different groups kind of melded together, like the jocks and the preppy. I don't even know what they're calling more, the people who actually went to class, and then the people who creatively arranged their schedules like we did our junior year, so that we had maximal free time at an optimal time of the day. But you know, I always felt like we kind of anchored the mall, like the center of the mall. We kind of just, there was a group of lockers we used to hang out at. But I don't know, I guess my memory here is just that a lot of people came in and out of our circle, you know, and it was a great time. I have to be honest. We just had a wonderful time as juniors. And it's been interesting because we all sort of had a huddle before this. So we kind of got caught up before this and kind of learned things that I'd never realized or that I'd forgotten, you know, just like how you guys actually were good students. Like you actually showed up to class and remembered your teachers and engaged. I just wasn't that person in my junior year. So I think that was, to me, like, oh, there was a whole nother layer of stuff going on that I just kind of was ignorant of. But I've always appreciated your friendship.
Before we move on that, Michelle Grover has weighed in and said she lives in Pacifica.
That's who it is. All right.
There we go.
Connection made. Things. Yes. Yes.
So Brad and I were in the same homeroom, Mrs. Keller's homeroom. And one of the things we talked about before this is I remember that Brad, and now forgive me if this is an incorrect categorization, but one of the things I remember about you is that I feel like fashion was pretty important to you. You know, some of us wore flannel shirt every day and some of us took it up a notch, and that was you. Do you remember that? Do you?
Oh yeah.
And do you still have like photos that you show your kids and stuff? And are there any of those looks that you had in high school that you regret now or that you were really proud of?
I gotta say, we were talking a little bit about the eyeliner and because we all did the eyeliner thing, and you know
we all did. Yeah.
Wait, pause. You all were. James, did you wear eyeliner to school?
Yep.
Yeah.
Chris, did you?
Yep.
Did Jeff and Chris?
No.
I think they were very much not in that group.
Okay.
Right.
So the three of you. Okay, keep going.
3 of us.
Eyeliner. Do you still wear eyeliner, Brad?
No, I mean, so I did wear it. We had an 80s fundraiser thing for the school, for our kids' school. And because in California, we have to raise money for the arts in schools. Maybe that's true in Minnesota now too. But I did pull out the 80s look and went full eyeliner and, symmetrical hair as much as I could with a normal haircut and everything. But yeah. So I won't, it's not normal, but I have done it.
That's good. So fashion was important to you. I mean, that was,
I ran with a crew that, we liked dressing up. Duran Duran was one of the big groups. They were hugely fashionable. The Cure, a lot of black. I mean, James and I wore a ton of black in the day.
Buttoned up to the top.
Yeah.
Button up to the top.
Go.
So
cardigan, sweaters.
Yeah. I mean, I remember shopping, you know, the clearance rack. I don't remember what was the section of Dayton's called that had all the mod stuff.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I forget what it was called.
It had a
Yeah.
name.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's where the Gerbeau jeans came from.
The Gerbeau, the Guess, the Gerbeau came after the Guess, right?
I think so.
I think so.
I think there was Guess, the leather patched Guess, right? And then came the Gerbeau, which were the really cool ones. Yep.
Well, then I made a bold move when I was a sophomore or junior in that I went down to Tatters, if you remember Tatters,
Oh, yes.
on Lindale, Lindale and Lake, and got myself a big wool overcoat, which I thought was pretty damn cool. And I wore that for a couple of years.
You had to have a trench. I mean, you know,
Right.
come on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Of course, now you can't, but it carries a different connotation to these days.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah. And I would wear that overcoat to school, but not to hockey games. Like there was, you know, different places where you could plug in that look. James, I think you were in band with me, correct?
Yep. I was in jazz band for the most part, but concert band in sophomore year.
Remind me what instrument you played.
Saxophone.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And I got kind of booted down to the Barry because I couldn't keep up with Marnie and the altos, you know. I came from clarinet before that. So in junior high, I played clarinet for 3 years, which was a great way to meet girls. But other than that, that was about it.
Now, were you part of that sort of experimental, like jazz lab, the sort of you know what I'm talking about, right? There were like two jazz groups. One was a little bit more regimented, and then one, I forget the name of the teacher. You know, am I talking?
No.
Bob Stack or
Bob Stack. That's Bob Stack. That's it. Get him on the show. You had Mel Jacobson on. That would almost be as good if he's still around. I don't even know.
I don't even know either. Yeah.
He used to play at Rupert. You know, he was, and he'd bring in like Rupert guys into the jazz band from like work. It was,
yeah.
That's my memory anyway. It was pretty good. And I know the last reunion was there, so I regret missing that one, but that would have been a good one.
Do you still play at all?
Well, I try to show the kids I can do something, but it usually doesn't come out, you know, quite right. My kids all were, you know, somewhat musical, so I had to pull it out every now and then. But
that's right.
And Brad,
I'm not very good.
Brad, I see you have guitars in the back. Are those yours?
They are mine. The quantity and quality of the guitars far overstates my ability to play them. I have been self-teaching for 3 or 4, maybe 5 years. I'm a halfway okay rhythm guitarist.
And do you ever play around town?
No, I've never played anywhere but kind of my house or campfire or something like that.
So Chris, I have a question. So music is often a theme of our show. Did you guys ever go out to like rock concerts?
Yeah.
What are some musical memories?
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing the Suburbs at homecoming. That was big. And then we would go down to First Avenue in my sophomore year, and I think we were big in we did the all age danceteria Sunday nights.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was big. Of course, whenever the Cure came through town, we were there. I'm trying to think who else we would have seen. Was Depeche Mode was around then. I can't remember if we would have been seeing them as well.
Yep.
Did you see these bands at First Avenue?
The Cure was at
Orpheum.
Orpheum, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw the Violent Femmes at the Orpheum, but I think that might have been senior year or after. I don't know. Right? It was 18.
Okay.
All I know.
I actually have a really interesting story. We actually ended up partying with the band members from The Cure.
Okay, tell it.
Yeah, so I convinced my mom. I love my mom, but I convinced my mom to get us a hotel room for after the Cure concert. I believe it was October 17th, 1985. So I was 15.
Fantastic.
And it was just going to be us, you know, 5 guys. And we ended up, of course, having a little party. And I believe the drinking age was much lower than, I think it was 19 in 85. So we had a friend who I believe he had a fake ID or whatever. And so he went down to the bar to get something for us. And he ran into some of the band members, and he was a musician. So he started talking with them, and he said, "Hey, why don't you come up? We're having a little get together." And they're, you know, they came up, a couple of them. Robert wasn't there. I believe it was Boris and Simon, the keyboardist and the drummer. And so we ended up hanging out with them for a little while, and, you know, it was kind of interesting. 15-year-old hanging out with you know, what ended
English
up
goth rockers. Yeah.
absolutely massive English goth rock band. Yeah.
I had all those breakfasts and I wasn't invited. I don't know how.
You know, man, I'm not sure exactly what happened.
I think it was a timing thing. I don't think we were hanging out much at that early.
It might not have been. It might have been a little early.
Yeah, 80,
before.
85 is a little bit early.
Yeah,
Yep.
because I think it was 86 and 87 when we were hanging out most.
Yep.
That's awesome, though. That's
Yeah.
a good memory.
God,
It
I
is
wish
funny.
I had pictures.
Some of those bands, those, you know, sort of, you know, I guess you would call them alternative rock bands from when we were in high school. You try to explain to people now just sort of that level of cool that those bands had, you know, at the time. So they looked different and they sounded different. That, you know, most of us were listening to classic rock, and like you come out of that and you start listening to the Smiths. And
Yeah.
my entryway to most of those bands was through girls who convinced me to start listening to them. And, you know,
Sure.
that was a good move. It was pretty interesting, but a lot of that was going on. It seems like when we were in high school, that shift from, you know, whatever they played on the radio to stuff they didn't play on the radio, but was still really popular, was happening
Yeah.
right then in the late 80s.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with the ability to distribute music. And now it's even easier to do that.
Right.
Was it MTV2?
Maybe. I think it goes even before that. I think about
Yeah.
the melting pot of music too, because I remember listening to Joan Jett and AC/DC like
Yep.
in elementary school, and then coming up through junior high, kind of going to like a Black Sabbath, like
Yep.
crazy, like heavy metal, like more like that was new kind of. I mean, there
Totally.
was nothing really like that at the time. And then you move yourself to the Cure, the Violent Femmes, or something even weirder than that. I mean, throw the Grateful Dead in there eventually, but that's such a wide variety of a wide spectrum of musical genres. And you love all of them.
Right.
Right.
We had a big Beatles and Pink Floyd phase. Like there was a lot of, we were
Yeah.
listening to everything we could get our hands on.
Well, I remember Chris being very into Rush.
Yeah.
And
Rush,
maybe even Yes, like the prog stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
And
Well,
then
you
the
throw
Grateful
in
Dead in our
Wham.
senior year. I mean, the Grateful Dead were huge. I actually toured with the Dead for a summer, 2 summers, just little like around the Midwest. It was just this weird phase of long hair, way too skinny, acne, and like tie dyes. It's just the strangest thing to think that I was that person.
That's great, because again, there's what Marnie mentioned it. These little things tie all these people together
Right.
from school, and I know that there's a whole group of people who
yeah.
at some point went on the road with the Grateful Dead, either in high school or shortly after. Dave Green has talked about it.
Yep.
You know,
Jason
Jason
Crow.
Crow, who we've now
Yep.
just tracked down.
Oh, you
Hopefully
did? Oh, good.
Well, he liked a photo I posted on Instagram last week. So
Okay.
this is happening.
I hope so. I've wondered about him for a long time, so I would love to see him come at least forward a little bit.
Well, speaking of that, I'll take a break and plug our KHOP88 Instagram page. We're posting some of these photos of you, not regularly, but
Yeah.
Crow is on Instagram, and he just posted a Valentine's Day I Love My Wife photo. So he is alive and celebrating Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
There
We're
you
going
have
to
it.
get him. So Heather Thorson, I just wanted to say, is in the room, and she says hello to Brad. You guys were neighborhood friends.
Oh,
maybe,
yeah.
growing up?
Oh yeah, we Heather and I go way back. I don't remember, Heather, you can tell me what birthday was it where you had everybody over and we watched Alien and it scared the living bejesus out of me. And I don't remember what, I want to say it was like 11 or 12 or maybe 10. I don't know. It was, but I still remember that.
That's
And Brad,
fantastic.
Was this the birthday party where someone threw a toilet at someone else?
That was another birthday party where we went to
Heather's house?
WWF. No, it was way before WWF wrestling, but it was wrestling at the KMSP studio right there near,
Oh, wow.
near Brookview Golf Course.
That is just the best ever that somebody went to wrestling for a
It
birthday
was
party.
awesome.
So great. I so wish that would have happened to me. I went to a party the other night, a socially distanced party on the lake on the frozen lake by our house here. And somebody had a disco ball and they were spinning disco music, and it got a couple of us talking about how, because we're all roughly the same age, how there was a period of time when you went to a birthday party, at least one that year, at the roller rink.
Oh yeah.
And we were all comparing the
Cheapskate.
names of the roller rinks. Yeah, and I said ours was called Cheapskate, and everybody thought that was just hilarious.
Oh yeah.
You
How
guys
do you-
remember the
it's a-
Cheapskate scene?
Oh,
It's
yes.
an Aldi now.
It's a what now?
Aldi.
Is
Oh,
it
is it
really?
Yeah, it's still there. It's just an Aldi's.
Oh, that's
All
great.
these.
Grocery
Uh,
store.
A
Yeah.
budget
Yep.
grocery store low.
We used to
Sherman.
go at North. We used to have a roller skating session for PE.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Sure.
must have walked to Cheapskate and roller skated every day for a week.
Well, I mean, it was only like 1,000 yards, right? Or not even that. It was like 500 yards from there.
Yeah, just down
from
the
north.
hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, had to pass by Mark's Game World on the way. How did
Oh,
you
yeah.
not stop?
And Tom Thumb, right?
Right.
I,
Oh,
I
yeah.
I sold a lot of donuts out of my locker from Tom. Just saying.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Do you have a
North
little
Junior-
shadow industry at the high school or at North?
That was very lucrative, actually, because I'd buy like 3 dozen a day, sell them for 50 cents or $1. People would give me lunch tickets and stuff.
Oh my God, that's
At
great.
North or in high school? Or both?
No, at North. not in high school.
I wish I had known that.
That
The
was in
black
the,
market donut scene.
I think I was in the 100 hall, if I remember correctly. There's 1, 2, and 3, right? I think I was in the 100.
Hey, James, did you have Mr. Graff with 2 Fs?
I did.
I'm trying to recruit him to come on the show. But I haven't asked Jason's permission. Anyhow,
I don't care.
back to you guys. High
So
school.
many of them are passing away now. It's really sad. So Mr. James, who we went on a Boundary Waters trip with, he passed away recently. I know that was sad. Roman Borgerding from the high school,
Oh,
passed away 5, 6 years ago. I don't know when it was, but you see these things on social media and you read all the stories that people post, and it is quite fascinating. But
mhm.
some of those teachers really did have an impact on me.
Well, so let's go to that question, which I really like, which is there a teacher that influenced you that you want to share with us, James?
It probably at the high school, it would probably be Roman Borgerding for sure. I don't know. You can't really be in one of his classes and have him not impact you. It's pretty much impossible, just because that's the kind of person he is. Same thing with
Do you have
Mel
a good-
Jacobson. Mel Jacobson would probably be a close second. I never took ceramics from him, but I know Chad Alt, who was watching, mentioned on another stream that he had done calligraphy in North Junior High, and that's where, I had taken that class, and it wasn't way more than calligraphy, just like Roman's class was always way more than creative writing. They just bring in all these different aspects of life and living. And
Do you have a good Borgerding story? It seems like that's one of the things that a lot of people have.
I don't know if I have one personally. I mean, he's just such a eccentric dude. The best I can do is the stories and the stories that everybody wished they could see is, when he jump up on the desk and, beat his chest like a chimpanzee or do all these very animated crazy things in his classroom. I think anyone that took his class saw a little bit of that. I never saw the jumping on the desk thing, but that was something that stuck in my mind. Like, I hope I see that someday. That would be fantastic. But
he's got there's a great obituary for Borgerding that you can just Google. It's in the Star Tribune. And again, you get a sense, we've heard this from people like Mel and Ramon, like, man, a lot of the people who were teachers for us at the high school and even in earlier grades, they lived fascinating lives outside of what we knew them as. I mean, they had stuff going on before they became our teachers and after that is really interesting.
I think someone just posted within the last few weeks, Mr. Almain, which I believe is at Tanglin, passed away. And I certainly remember him and a lot of the Tanglin teachers. And Brad and I can both, we kind of bounced back and forth between Tanglin and Burwell, which was a little weird at the time. So we went to like second grade in Tanglin, third, fourth, fifth, whatever at Burwell, and then back for fifth, sixth at Tanglin. I don't remember the whole, you think I would, because I remember all my teachers. I just don't really remember where I was at, but so many good memories. And Mr. Almain, he was in the room next door. And just like now, we go to different classes in different rooms. So you always had him for something.
Yeah, I remember.
I want to get to Brad on this in a second, but just you bringing up Tanglin reminds me of this. So Archie Manning played for the Vikings for like a year. And during that time, Peyton Manning apparently attended school at Tanglin.
Yes, he did.
Really?
He's a few years younger than us, but I think you guys were there at the same time. Like when you were in sixth grade, he was in second grade or something like that. I don't know.
My younger brother was his tight end in like fifth grade football or something like that. Just, crazy, worthless, random story, but still, it's pretty funny.
He probably chased him into those big tires,
All right, Brad, who's your teacher?
Well, Borgerding, he was huge. I have this visceral memory of, and I don't know if it was a class, because I don't think it was a class. There was a room in the back of the library. It was a small room, windowed, and it could hold like 5 or 8 people or something. And I remember a study group back there with him in the room, and we were discussing, I don't remember exactly what, but it is such a huge memory for me, that just having this kind of person turn on a light about the book we were reading. It might have been like Fahrenheit 451 or one of those books that we read in high school, but I remember it just like impacting me. I mean, I just remember, I can see the windows in my mind, from a memory perspective. So definitely that. I will also say, and I don't remember who it was, but the photography teacher, the graphic artist teacher, because I did many people might remember I kind of walked around with a camera around my neck a lot, and I took a lot of photos. Actually, I have a few to show, I convinced this person to open up the color darkroom, which had been closed for 10 years or something like that, 15 years. So that was a lot of fun, that graphic arts, section.
I mean, that you learned how to develop film.
Yeah.
I mean,
color.
that whole aspect of photography that
was incredible. Yeah.
All right. So do you have photos to show?
Well, I do. I have this one from, that I took of Chris, Mr. Bjork.
Love it.
No.
So it's quite good. I love the hair, very stylish.
The hair is good, yeah.
Yep.
That is fantastic.
Wow.
I also have this one. A lot of these are from the North Door because we spent a lot of time there. But I have this one of Mr. Sanders, who couldn't join us today.
Right.
Oh.
Look at that hair, though.
Look at the hair.
Really good.
It's very nice.
I'm sorry.
And some other people that aren't here that I kind of feel bad showing, but I'm going to anyway. Jana.
Oh yeah,
you
wow.
can't feel bad showing that.
Yep. And then one I took of May in math class. I believe it was in Mr. Roan's class. So these are still the photos I developed in the dark room at Hopkins. It was pretty real deal.
They're really cool. They're really vivid and good.
Yeah.
what do you call those, candid portraits, I guess? I mean,
Yeah,
the
something like that.
Bjork's looks posed, but
Yeah, well,
It probably was.
not how I was.
those are really great. Do you show those around? Like, I mean, we've had Kyle Hansen on the show who has a similar, range of black and white photography from that time, and it just blows me away, this stuff.
I have, I wish I could find more because I have tons of rolls somewhere. I sent Chris a copy, a scanned version of the one I have of him. I sent one to Ame. That's the extent of what I've done with them. So
Yeah.
Prints will be available after the show for a low price. No.
Yeah.
You can get them on a mug.
Exactly.
Where's KHOP marketing? Come on.
Just don't show it to my daughter.
Oh.
Yeah, right. Yes.
There's a picture that Kyle posted of me and Eric Ronberg smoking and giving the camera the finger.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of classic. And of course it would be pretty embarrassing to have her see it, but
I'll give it 10 years,
Yeah, give it probably 3.
But I was going along.
Yeah.
Chris, do you have any questions for these guys?
I kind of asked them before, and I kind of led out with it a little bit too, just like how engaged you both were in your life at Hopkins, and I don't think we spent much time together in our senior year. I didn't spend much time with you all because I was like on a different trajectory. I mean, one of the most influential people at Hopkins for me was Ramon, who put me on a path of kind of straightening me out because I was going down not a good path. But I think you both like engaged more fully in your senior year and really took advantage of it. I'd love to hear more about just kind of like what was senior year like for both of you, because I didn't have your pulse as much at that time.
Sure.
So maybe Brad first and then James.
Okay. Senior year was very different for me. I did start to take things a lot more seriously. I actually, so there was an architecture course that Hopkins had, architecture lab, way back by the south door, I guess it would have been.
Yeah.
And so I took that, and I just was infatuated with it. And I ended up getting an independent study credit for working at an architecture firm down in downtown Minneapolis as a kind of office assistant / very low end drafts person. If they needed some crazy simple drawing done or something that had to be cross-checked 42 ways, but I would do that. And so it was the name. I still remember the name of the place. DeVolis, Johnson, and Ruggieri, and it was down on Franklin in a not so great area of town at the time. But so I did kind of start focusing a bit more on that, and I actually did end up going to the University of Minnesota intending to do architecture. Lo and behold, fine arts is a big part of architecture, and I had none of it, so I ended up switching to economics. Economics and computer science, which worked out okay.
You were in an office environment then. Was that like during the school day kind of?
I'd leave the campus at like 12:30, 1 o'clock every day and go to work, quote unquote, in an architecture firm for the next 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. James, what were you up to senior year?
Well, probably not a whole lot much more than I was my junior year, other than I was working a lot. So I mean, I was working basically full time without benefits. I was 17, 18 years old. You don't really need benefits. So, but a lot of hours. My girlfriend at the time, Paula, graduated in '87, had an apartment downtown Minneapolis. Spent a lot of time there with a whole gang of people.
Yep.
some in Northeast. So there was like 13th and University, you know, hung out there for a good year probably. And, you know, whenever you could, I mean, between work and school and everything else, it was busy, that's for sure. But, you know, just living life, I guess. I mean, it was a great time. Unfortunately, I didn't spend a lot of time. I mean, I don't have a lot of school memories my senior year, other than, you know, probably some particular classes, because it was probably like third on the list of priorities, you know, other than making it through and getting into the U, which I did. That was a pretty short trip at the U. A lot of fun again. But, you know, our 6-month lease was up. We had a, you know, apartment with floor to ceiling windows, and, you know, it was a crazy fun time, and a lot of well, just, yeah, parties, I guess it would be the best way to put it.
Did Elisa Gomez live with Paula? Was she?
No, not with her, but that she'd be around. And BB, I don't know if you remember BB.
Oh, BB, yeah.
And they would be around off and on. There was Susie Newell, who also worked at Byerly's. So she lived, not Hopkins person, but and Grace Carroll, who came from North Carolina. So it was kind of this mixture of people that,
I
you know,
forgot about her. Wow.
It is, though, you guys are all kind of saying that, you know, like, and we've had, you know, Marnie and I were pretty locked into school until graduation, I think, but there definitely was a group of kids who were sort of drifting away from school already senior year for one reason or another. They were tired of it. It wasn't doing what they wanted to, or they had opportunities to do other things. And that's a cool insight, you know, for sure.
Yeah, my daughter did PSEO for a couple of years, and I think if I would have been with it and on top of my game, I would have probably done PSEO because I think it was available even when we were in school.
What is that?
Post-secondary education opportunity. So you can go to college, get college credit, and graduate high school at the same time. So by the time you graduate high school, you're a junior in college, basically, if you do it right. And it worked for her because she was kind of, you know, not digging the high school scene in all aspects. You know, I think it's a lot different now with social media and she didn't have any problems necessarily. I just think it's a lot to process as even a junior high student with the social media and your different friends. So you know, whatever fits the personality. Some people thrive on it. Some people run away from it.
Yeah.
Well,
Totally.
I just want to say, Chris, I'm so glad you are here again and asking such insightful questions. And I'm really grateful that you have been our special correspondent tonight.
Well,
it's really great to see you again, and you added a lot to the conversation and the question.
well, thank you for allowing me to be here yet again. I'm sorry to the audience who has now seen me a third time in this venue, but when Brad asked, I'm like, of course I have to say yes, because when people ask you to do things in this life, you say yes, because when are you going to get to do these things or see these people again and have these rich conversations? Again, I'm so thrilled by the two of you and how you've held this together for a year, almost a total year now.
It's incredible.
It's a real service that.
Well, you're doing the lead in before Jason badgers me. Want to know what's upcoming, guys?
Do we ever?
Okie dokie, I'm almost ready.
Okay.
So we are on track for going into year 2 with a bang. Next week, we have Michelle Tweed Markison and Susan Tweston, Golden Valley Girls. Jeff Clegan, you're on your way for Golden Valley Boy. Then March 9th, Drew Falkman and Wally McLaughlin. And Wally is one of our examples of a special guest because while he went to school with us through 11th grade. He was in England for our senior year.
Honorary member of our class for sure.
Definitely, we are not rigid. The week after that, Laura Roth Green and a mystery guest. So excited. April 13th, we have the softball team. Ooh. And then Katie Keene Stevenson on April 20th. Then we have Jim Keene. I forgot which date, and we are aiming for a football show in May.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it'll be really exciting. My 50th birthday show, May. Can't
Yes,
have-
we're looking.
Yeah, we just have to wait.
I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for the details on the 50th
Yeah.
birthday show. Marnie is maybe the last member of our class to turn 50.
Yeah.
You're seriously young.
It must be.
Right. Well, guys, yes, it was great talking to you. Great seeing you. And thanks for joining us and adding some more color. I feel like progressively we are telling this story of our class. And it is really cool to every time we just tap into new experiences. And we didn't get into the arcade scene, but we will in future episodes for sure.
We could have an arcade show.
We could. Yes.
Mhm.
March
Cleveland-
Game World. Yeah, Piccadilly Circus. Yeah.
Piccadilly Circus. Yeah.
Piccadilly Circus.
Billiards. Yep.
Yep.
That's great. Not even Hopkins Bowl. Good Lord.
Oh yeah.
Oh, God.
We'll hunt down David Graves for that one. David Graves was
Oh,
a
yes.
pinball wizard.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So since everyone's watching and you bring up other guests, we are going forward. We had such a big class. And so please message us, send us notes.
Eric Oberg.
Eric Oberg. There are so many cool people and that we have to talk to. And so please, we're going to reach out to all of you again, but please keep messaging us. We love it.
Well,
Have a
thank
great
you.
week, everybody. Thanks a
was
lot.
great.
Thank you.
See you
Stay
next
safe.
Bye,
time.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank